told. We're told what we remember until we try to remember things that they want us to forget.
It is both the last episode of our Dystopian December month and the last episode of the year for Movie Night Extravaganza. And after doing some pretty bleak and depressing movies for this whole month, Brazil, Akira, City of Lost Children, Children of Men, and Blade Runner 2049, we're going to end this on a slightly less depressing movie. Olivia Wilde's 2022 psychological thriller, Don't Worry, Darling, starring Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, Olivia Wilde herself, Chris Pine, Gemma Chan, and Nick Kroll.
Jack, it's okay. I'm curious to hear where she's going with this.
Frank is doing something to us.
This is Olivia Wilde's second directorial feature after the 2019 coming-of-age comedy Booksmart, a comedy in the mold of Superbad, although Olivia Wilde rightly wished people would stop calling it a female Superbad, a comparison that wasn't helped by the albeit really good performance by Beanie Feldstein. Literally Jonah Hill's younger sister as Molly, and her close high school friendship with Amy, played by Caitlin Dever.
What?
Let's go to Nick's party.
Are you kidding? No way.
Amy, we only have one night left to have studied and partied in high school. Otherwise, we're just gonna be the girls that missed out.
Two seniors who decide they've wasted their entire high school years studying and reading and decide to have one night of fun before high school ends. Olivia Wilde's next film, Don't Worry, Darling, is very different from Booksmart. It revolves around Alice, played by Florence Pugh, who lives in an idyllic 1950s suburban company town in the desert, where her husband Jack, played by Harry Styles, who was dating Olivia Wilde at the time, but a role originally meant for Shia LaBeouf, works at the mysterious Victory Project, a top-secret project that develops progressive materials like some kind of center-left think tank.
The development of progressive materials?
You know
what
we
does that
can't
even
talk
mean?
about this.
What does that even mean?
You know we can't
Come
talk
on,
about
what
this.
does it mean? What does it even mean? Do you know? Do you even know what Frank is actually doing?
Classified.
What this actually means, none of the women in the town know, and the men keep it secret. The women are just expected to cook, clean, do laundry, and drink and dance at night, and not ask too many questions, or their husbands claim they'll be in huge trouble. This town is run by a mysterious, incredibly charismatic leader named Frank, played by Chris Pines, who along with his wife Shelley and henchman Dr. Collins, seem to make up the top of the hierarchy in this cultish town.
To look harder, to dig deeper, to mine that pure, unbridled potential.
When Alice's friend Michelle begins having issues and questioning things about the supposedly ideal town, and Alice begins having some strange visions and feelings, things quickly start to turn dark and hostile. Alice begins to break rules, such as attempting to leave the town after she sees a plane crash, and going to the headquarters of the Victory Project, where she sees a strange building, questioning Frank, trying to convince Jack to leave with her. And this is when we get into spoilers territory. Inspired by the real-life rise of the conservative men's rights groups and figures like Jordan Peterson, Victory is a simulation where a YouTube guru named Frank and his co-creator Dr. Collins have created an idealized little world for men to live out their dreams of a 1950s where they're important and respected.
Dean, what is the enemy of progress?
Chaos.
Yes. Oof. Nasty word.
And the woman of their choice is forced into the simulation as their loving housewife, living out a trad lifestyle with a dutifully submissive wife and perhaps some holographic simulated children. Of course, living in a simulation isn't free, and during the day, while supposedly working at the Victory Project, the men must leave the simulation to work jobs in the real world to keep paying Frank, while the women are kept Clockwork Orange style hooked up to the simulation to live this way unbeknownst to them. Before the simulation, Alice was an overworked surgical resident, and Jack was an unemployed, creepy-looking weirdo who lives off his girlfriend and watches YouTube videos all day. Desperately hoping for a change in this relationship dynamic, he's forced her into the simulation. The original seed of an idea for this film came from a spec script by Carrie and Shane Van Dyke, yes, Dick Van Dyke's grandsons. In 2022, Olivia Wilde told a Comic-Con audience the idea for the film, which was written as a screenplay by Katie Silverman, who helped also write and produce the final script for Booksmart, was inspired by The Matrix, The Truman Show, and Inception, as well as The Stepford Wives. This film was definitely underseen and underappreciated when it first came out, partially due to a pretty chaotic press run where rumors of a feud between Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh, Olivia Wilde's super public relationship with Harry Styles, and some speculation about where everyone stood with each other overshadowed the coverage of the actual movie. but also because of how sensitive the people who are being parodied, the kind of unemployed or underemployed young man who gets sucked into the YouTube men's rights vortex, and Jordan Peterson himself, made a huge deal about the themes of the film.
The film director Olivia Wilde has a new movie out, which she says is based on you, this insane man, this pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community. Incel being these weirdo loner men who are despicable in many ways. Is that you? Are you the intellectual hero to these people?
Sure, why not? People have been after me for a long time because I've been speaking to disaffected young men. What a terrible thing to do that is. I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
Special shout out to friend of the show, Katie Byron, who also worked on Booksmart and came on for that episode when we covered it. Production designer on this film, who went above and beyond creating this little simulated world. It's an interesting film, designed in a really cool way, with some themes that unfortunately are only going to get worse as we enter the second Trump era.
Chosen nationality, British. Chosen wife, Alice Warren. Pre-existing relationship, yes. Do you understand the discretion required to be a part of this community?
Before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Then hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Super chats are now open. If you have any pressing questions, send us a super chat, which helps me maintain the expenses for the show, which I am obligated by the rules of the Geneva Convention to stop everything and ask the panel. Another way to help us out is to become a patron and give us money every month. In exchange, you get access to all of our after parties, bonus content, and we'll tell you even more movies we watched recently. Patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. We have a Movie Night Extravaganza Discord. There's an invite link in the episode description, and we have a Letterboxd HQ account. So those are 2 more places to follow along with us. Okay, let me introduce the illustrious panel. Conan Neutron is the host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and the frontman for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. You can check out his music and hopefully buy some at neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Kristina Oakes is a co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza and a Twitch streamer. You can find her streaming at twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics. All of her social media accounts are also at Cosmopolitics. She's on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky, and even occasionally on Letterboxd. Katie Baldassaro is the co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, a director, writer, and actress who wrote and co-directed Girl in the Basement, along with appearing in horror movies like The Purge Election Year and The Devil's Nightmare. You can catch her voice acting in the podcast series, The Starwell Foundation, and she's the host of What If I Don't Like It, and on TikTok at Movie Runtime. I, of course, am your simulated 1950s host, Forrest Miller. So I said, what's the opposite of progress? Chaos. We must slay the dragon of chaos. You gotta slay the dragon of chaos, you know?
Yeah. Conan, you're muted.
There we go. Love that. I forgot he cried on air, by the way. That
Yeah.
So funny. I remember
You can see he's trying to get
which to me would be like a hang the mission accomplished banner situation.
Yeah. But I feel like you could see he was trying to get a tear out too. He's like, because he pauses for that second and he's like, come on, cry. And then a tear comes out and he's like, I thought the marginalized were supposed to have a voice.
Yeah, crocodile tears. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. The marginalized supposed to have a voice. Great. Yeah.
The marginalized incel community.
White men, yes, definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Haven't they been through enough?
There's International Men's Day already.
Yo, so can I say American Harry Styles in this when you like see like the real version of him like typing on the computer and shit, literal jump scare.
Yeah.
Like
I was like, whoa, they made him ugly.
He looks more like the guy from Freaks and Geeks or Mythic Quest. That actor.
Oh,
I can't remember his particular name.
I can't either off the top of my head, but he Martin Starr, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No diss to that guy. It's a stark
different vibe.
styles.
I'm going to assume I'm the only person that was completely unfamiliar with who that guy was, right? Everyone else knew who this guy was.
Oh,
Yeah,
Harry
I
Styles.
knew
I mean, I'm familiar. I know him more than Robbie Williams, who I don't know at all.
Why does he get a movie?
Which has that ape. That's the ape one, right? He's an ape or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, like I was like a teenager when the X Factor, I think it was the X Factor or whatever, and they won. I was like, oh great, another boy band that can't live up to like Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. That was right.
You love all the boy bands.
Not One Direction though, because I had a feeling they weren't gonna last long, which I was right.
That was his old band.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
Well,
I know that
And they
name.
tried- and they
Couldn't pick
tried-
a song out of a Police lineup, but I know the
that's
name.
yeah.
There
who
that's
else
the
was
same
in the band?
Yeah.
Zane, Niall,
Zane.
the one guy, Malik,
Yeah.
right?
Malik.
He
Zayn
also
Malik,
the one
right?
guy
Yeah.
that committed suicide recently. He
Yeah,
was in the
I only
band.
know Harry Styles and the guy that committed suicide recently, and that's only because he committed suicide recently.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be compounding
He
reason.
was facing a bunch of rape allegations.
Yeah.
Well, but that guy has a pretty rabid fan base, right? Like aside, like he's not known as a movie star, but he has like a very like Taylor Swift style rabid fan
He was
base.
in the Eternals for like 2 seconds, and I'm like, do we really need him in this? Do we need him in Marvel?
See, I like honestly, I'm not writing a shtick. I just don't know him. I understand he's like famous, like very famous, but like I just don't have any frame of reference. So is this his first movie he's acted other than was the Eternals before that?
He said,
I
I
think
watched
came
an
out
interview.
first.
I watched an interview with Olivia Wilde where she's breaking down scenes, and she said it was the second movie.
Yeah,
But
he
I
did
don't
Eternals
feel like
first.
he was a starring role in whatever the first thing he starred in was. Like,
Yeah.
I think
He was supposed to be Nosferatu as Nicholas Holt's character. Thank God that didn't happen.
Oh my God, that would have been a very different movie. Coming up next week, Nosferatu, by the way.
Yeah.
And this movie was supposed to be
Styles.
it was supposed to be Shia LaBeouf, and I think that when you think about how it could have been worse, Harry Styles' performance is not that bad, right? Because like I didn't want that. I didn't want the real guy. I didn't want method actor, the actual person who you wrote the script about, to be playing the character.
Right.
Forrest Pugh would not have allowed him on set. I guarantee it. Like, no.
Well, you can beat up girls in the simulation. All right, sorry.
Well, okay, so I'm already doing the movie a disservice because we're talking about all the nonsense surrounding it. But I was on a rewatch, which I enjoyed. I first of all, it should be clear for people coming and expecting us to trash a movie. Nobody on this stream hates this movie. In fact, we are presupposing that many people misunderstood what this movie was, and many people did not give this movie a fair shake. So you can come into this be curious as to why we feel that way, or you click off now. Go watch something else. Go watch some Jordan
Olivia
Peterson or
Wilde,
something.
we're here for you, okay?
And I would say, like, I wouldn't say that the viewer misunderstood. I think that the viewer had it framed really badly for them and came in with a lot of predispositions, biases, and expectations of a genre that this film is not in.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say that this is the viewer's fault. The viewer didn't fail the movie, right? Like, you know how like the voter can fail the candidate. That's not what I mean.
Sure, of both. Like, I think everybody kind of fucked up. I wouldn't put it on any one particular person.
It was.
But
all
I
the
want to stress that
drama.
we're not like saying, "Hey, you, if you didn't like it, you just misunderstood it." Like that's the worst.
Literacy's dead.
That is, yeah. No, I understood it. I just didn't like it. No, I got exactly what it was doing, and I hated every part of it. No, but not with this movie. But I think there's a lot of people. There just was a boulder rolling down the hill of opinion that started with all the attendant stuff that had nothing to do with the movie, because there was a lot of drama. Yeah, and there was like, and I remember one of the things about the drama, more or less said, I haven't even watched this movie, but boy, do I love following this drama. And then it became, lol, it's bad, haha. And then it became, oh, well, it was only saved because of the people doing the technical work. And that's just not true. It's not how Olivia Wilde directs movies. When we had Katie on for Booksmart, she was very quick to point that out, that she's involved in part of the process. It's a very collaborative arrangement. Everybody is working in conjunction, but she's definitely coming up from perspective of like, hey, what cool thing can we do here? And I have to say, and I'm very brave to say this, but I think if she was a male director, like it would not have gone down.
Yeah.
It would have gone down. Just like it wouldn't have gone down with
even with rumors spreading around, like people would have.
It's gonna make a Matt Damon joke, but it's fine. Or Mark Wahlberg. Damn it, I would have got the wrong dude.
Even with a bunch of like drama surrounding it, they still would have probably given the movie a fair shake. In this case, it seems like. But I also think, like, I'm glad I watched it now. Like when it came out with everything surrounding it, I was like, I didn't end up watching it. I don't know. And we were doing the show when it came out, right? Like, you know, like I just didn't end up watching it. And I'm glad I waited, because a lot of the stuff that was happening at the time this movie came out would have felt a lot more raw. Like all the, like the men's rights activist kind of shit. Like I was on Twitter heavy at that point. I was using Twitter heavy at that point, and it just would have felt like kind of an like it's hard to see the current moment on screen in such a vivid like.
It was a little bit raw because it was still occurring. Sure.
Yeah.
That makes
and
sense.
everybody's opinions were so forefront for me when it came out that I couldn't bother to see it because I actually didn't even really know what it was about. I just knew that everybody was mad at it. So when there's so many movies that you have to watch in our position that you kind of just like, I'll let that one slide. And I also did not see it until you guys told me we were doing an episode. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll watch it. And I really liked it a lot. I'm so sad but I'm glad that I waited like you, Forrest, because otherwise I don't think I would have liked it.
Well, I did not wait at all.
It aged well.
Yeah. As soon as I was like, you know what? Fuck the drama. I'm going to give it a chance. Florence Pugh is one of my favorite actresses. I like Olivia Wilde as a director. I felt like a lot of the stuff was manufactured to give some of it, like they say all publicity is good publicity, but I don't believe that, especially when it comes to this film.
When you're a man, it is.
Yeah. So I watched it and I was like, guys, this movie's actually really good. I feel like a lot of people just didn't give it a chance, and then people who are not as politically engaged as we are, the film critics, did not understand who Jordan Peterson was and what inceldom is and whatnot.
Yeah. So I actually saw it first, just not to like pull rank or anything, but the reason why I think that's notable, I don't know what movie episode it was, but I said I think I want to try to see this while I'm on tour because I love Booksmart so much. I want to see this movie as quickly as possible before.
And your friend worked on it.
Absolutely, and Katie worked on it, but also like I didn't want it spoiled for me. Like not like I didn't want to hear about the discourse. It was like I didn't want it spoiled. I was like, wow, that looks really awesome. It's just trying to see a movie on tours unless you have a day off is just impossible. But I saw it almost immediately afterwards. Loved it. Formed my own opinion outside of the zeitgeist. And then suddenly, everyone was just like, oh, this movie sucks, lol, Twilight Zone, lol, Black Mirror, lol, like Stepford Wives. And I'm like, okay, but like, it's good. If it's either good or it's not. It's not like not every movie needs to like break the narrative structure and like be something entirely different. And just from the production design alone, which again, I'm biased here because my friend did the production design. This is a built world. It looks amazing. Amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons why it works, because you're dealing with something that's, spoiler alert, everybody, like it's an artificial reality. But it does look too good to be true. Like all the colors are so vibrant and like so.
I feel like it's such a different production design than Booksmart too, which
yes. Oh God,
had that
Katie understood the assignment.
That 2010s kind of like really did well with that 2010s like Judd Apatow feeling, even to like the that kind of like high school vibe, right? Like those kinds of movies. Right. Which whenever I see that, I'm like, all right, I'm in for a good time. Like this is gonna be funny. This movie, it the colors are so bright and it's such an like it's jarring. Like the fact that the colors are that bright, the fact that everyone is like, you can tell there's darkness behind the eyes, like, or confusion behind the eyes, I guess, right? Like of all these characters, but they're in this setting and you're constantly being unnerved by things, but like they don't really explain what you're being unnerved by until, like 2/3 of the way through it. So
and it's bright, like Barbie level of bright, which is also a dystopia where she literally wakes up and it starts to be like, wow, the milk is fake, and she's like, wow, these eggs are fake. I'm like, there was some serious Barbie Black Swan parallels there.
That was literally the point I was about to make, and I was going to tag it with like, it would have been crazy if this came out after Barbie came out, because people would, Barbie, lol.
I remember when it was debuting on HBO Max, the HBO Max account was really like honing in on like promoting this film being on HBO Max. Like they did the whole like how to make an omelet, and they cracked the eggs. And there's nothing, no yolk in it. I'm like, oh, this is great marketing. They should have done that when the movie came out in theaters, but I mean, it was a hit on HBO Max. So
I have a question for you guys regarding what we're kind of circling around here, which is the idea that there was a twist. There was something that was revealed in here. And certainly a lot of the reviews that I saw on Letterboxd that were negative said that they felt like the twist was incredibly predictable. And in a psychological thriller mystery, it should be a wait till the end. For me, I felt like it was incredibly obvious from 5 minutes in that this is what the music is telling you something bad is going on. It's obviously not the 1950s because Black people are integrated with them perfectly fine.
Yeah.
She's making comments about being sexually attracted to other women and nobody seems to be upset about that. It was clear from the get-go that this wasn't about what was going to be revealed, but the way it was going to be revealed. And so again, I'm like, you're mad at what the thing chose to purposefully do because you wanted it to be more of a ooh.
Yeah, it's everything's a little bit too perfect, and the musical cues especially very well done in this.
Felt way off from the beginning.
So and where are they going to? Why are they they're driving to a mountain? What's going on in this?
Why is there a plane crash?
Well, and there's a lot of and I think she spent a lot of time sort of establishing that moodiness, that real kind of, and I'll ascribe it to a Twilight Zone. People would say Black Mirror now, but that kind of something is wrong here, and you don't know what it is. Vibe, including on rewatch, because this is third time seeing it now. The interconnected, there's little flashes of you see her actually with the VR thing, and you see the dancing girls as interstitials and things like that.
Oh god, watching that one high was fun.
Well, but it's it gives you. I think I'm trying to tag on to Katie's point that it's more what's the journey for how do you figure out not just what's going on, something's going on, but how does she get out of this?
Is it a village situation? Is it a Matrix?
Right, and I think people you don't get a cookie. Oh, I figured it out early on. Great, I don't care.
Well, people love doing that in reviews, right? I every time I see a horror movie, then I'm like, wow, this was legitimately scary. Some of the first reviews I see are, I didn't even I didn't even piss myself, and it's okay, that's not a.
I don't even remember the movie, but there was one Letterboxd. There's one Letterboxd review I made where so many people were doing that. I was well, I guess I must be stupid because I didn't catch this coming. That's how I started it, because I just got so sick of people announcing that they got that there was a twist. I don't care. I don't care.
It gets weirder and weirder, and it does that on purpose. I mean, when she gets on the bus and there's a plane crash, the bus driver is also clearly an NPC, which I didn't necessarily catch the first time, but that's not a real person, and that's why he can't get off the bus. He's, he just has to as he's driving.
He has his pre-programmed lines.
Can I say?
I don't go there. I don't go there. And then because she's one of the real people, she gets to be oh, what the fuck? And then she gets off the bus, and the bus driver just takes off. And it's that's because the bus driver, once you get it, you're oh, that was an NPC person.
Yeah, sorry, our princess is in another castle.
A lot of critics of this film say that the script is very it's bad in parts, the parts where they're supposed to be written as NPCs. Have you played a video game recently? Yes.
Have you been on TikTok recently?
That was the movie telling you what is happening, and you're being ooh, I'm mad at it for being what it is, and it just feels a little frustrating. Instead of fighting it, just accepting it. But I don't know.
But I also feel
so real quick, Afternoon Tune. I think people hate it because it's obvious from the trailer. No, I don't think. I think they hated it because a bunch of other people said it sucked, and then it became something where people didn't want to invest energy picking up Sword and Shield to defend it,
which is a common theme these days with films.
And people started looking for reasons why it sucked to fit the hypothesis that it does. And I say this because I saw it in real time, and there was me and maybe two other people, one of which was Kristina, being what the hell? Why won't what are people? Did we see the same movie? What are you even talking about? Zach Marsh is another one. Credit where credit's due. He was early. Friend of the
I just feel Katie, to tag it at the point that you were making with people, people just kind of being oh, it was badly written. I feel we've reached a point online where with the culture war and people being angry about stuff, that they've realized you don't even have to see the thing to give a.
Just repeat the talking points. Yeah.
The marvelous.
What do you not like about it? And they're it was badly scripted. You could say it was badly scripted, and then everyone's well, he must have seen it. He knows what the script was like. But you never have to actually give any example.
Yes.
Let's see your script.
they're already spreading false rumors that the Superman movie is getting like bad screenings when it hasn't been screened yet to an audience. Like, this is what we're dealing with. This is what I fucking hate. Like, film Twitter, like sometimes even Phil's got. It's like, you know, all these people are clout chasing, trying to build an audience by just making up lies about things that they don't care about or know they haven't seen that.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think, yeah, it's incredibly frustrating to want to engage when it's hard to tell whether people are coming from that viewpoint or not, because nobody's ever going to say that they actually haven't seen it, and you're trying to still engage with them. And you're right, you could just say something incredibly vague. I think it's a lot like the film that we already reviewed, Brazil, which is like a film that gets accused of having an ending that is unsatisfying. And I can see Afternoon Tune in the chat saying right there that the ending was unsatisfying for him, but also feels like a film that is obviously going towards that kind of, like, where else could we really be going here? It's an exploration of the journey, not a destination to a satisfying reveal of a mystery. And I'm sorry that you were marketed something differently. And another, I think another thing that people online really grab onto when criticizing this, that is like a trend, is to say that you hate Florence Pugh's acting because she has Pugh face. And I think what she's actually doing, she uses her whole face and body. The actress from Pearl does that too, to act in scenes where there is not dialogue. And people are like, oh, I'm mad at her. What do you want her to stare at you? Like, I'm frustrated, but also it's like, I like cilantro and maybe you don't like cilantro, but I like
it's not for everyone. I mean,
I don't have the soap gene, thank God.
So I had a lot of people announce to me how great of an actress she was for like literal years. And I just didn't watch, I guess, some of her best performances, because all the movies I saw, I was like, she's fine. She's good. Like, I mean, she's a good actress.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Can I finish the point, please? Thank you. So, but it was this one. And I went back like to Little Women and a couple of the other like ones where she really like nails it. And I was like, oh, wow. She's like making this like a thing to watch. And I understand that that's the one thing that people usually will praise in this movie, that is Florence Pugh does a great job. But like, she does do a great job. And I was a Florence Pugh skeptic before this film.
It was Midsommar.
I was not one of those people that was like talking trash or whatever, but I was definitely like, all right, I can't wait to see her do some of this great acting everyone loves.
It was Midsommar for me. Seeing Midsommar in theaters was.
I saw Midsommar. Did I see Midsommar after this? I think I saw Midsommar after this.
Oh yeah, well, I'm not saying that you did see it, but I'm saying like that was the moment for me. I was like, oh, she's. And then realizing she's
a star.
Like, realizing she's not even American. Like her American accent was so in Midsommar that like I was like, I was like, I heard her and she's like, well, I had to say, and I was like, oh, whoa.
She's British.
Well, I love that Jackson in the chat saying that he had no idea it was controversial. I envy you, because like it was like it was like the only thing, because the controversies that were again about anything but the actual movie itself were just endless, and people reported on them endlessly, and in a way that I don't think they would if it was a male director. Look at frickin' Megalopolis, Francis Ford Coppola, right? Like, think about the stuff that like went down on that set. Did we hear about it the same way, do you think? I don't think so. But it's also something.
Yeah, you got the feeling from that people were really trying to go to bat to prop him up, when it's kind of like anybody else, they'd be like, tearing them down. With this, you really got the feeling they were trying to tear her down, when it, like a lot of time, like the same things might have been propped up. Even if I don't know. Even if the worst rumors were true about it, right? Like, I still, like, a male director would still, I mean, because it's like
they would be like, oh, she's working on this now, and like this is her comeback movie, instead of like, well, you're banished for forever, which is like Jill Sprecher, right? Like it's like, oh no, she's not allowed to make movies anymore.
Can I talk about some of the actual like characters in this movie, because again, some things are off, like that girl Michelle. She's like, we're not supposed to be here. And they're like, we're just going to drug her up and keep dosing her.
Wait, or Margaret?
Like, oh, yeah, Margaret. Yeah, that woman. Yeah. I keep getting
like, by the way, the character name, right?
I get these broads confused.
Yeah.
It's like the Go Ask Alice kind of thing. Like the are you listening, God? It's me, Margaret. Like all of the women's characters. I'm not like no idea if, I guess they are the real names, but it feels like they're all very like female literary names.
Yeah, but like there's also the woman who's always pregnant. Peggy is her name, I think. Like that, I was like, when Olivia Wilde tells Florence, like after she got her treatment done, she's like, you remember Peggy? She's always pregnant. I'm like, always pregnant? Why would you say that? I'm like, that she's never gonna give birth, is she? Like that another thing that made me like. And then of course Olivia Wilde's like, I chose to be here because then I could be a mom. And she's like, your kids aren't real. And I'm like, oh Jesus.
Well, she said her kids died. Her kids died.
Yeah. And people, because people just apparently were walking into this finding nothing to like before they actually watched the movie. I thought that was incredibly like poignant and tragic.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, think of like the logistics of what it must be to like be in this world to accomplish that, and think about what you're like giving up, literally everything, right? Yeah. And that's something where there were people that like wanted, I guess, Vox style explainers for how the Matrix stuff was happening, the care of the bodies and this and that. And it's like, all right, fine, but like the point is, think of like she's made this willing sacrifice to do this. That's heartbreaking. You would rather have like the beautiful reality again, Brazil, right?
But that's also exactly the plot of Abre Sus Ojos. Like that we've seen that in another film about a simulation life, the choice to, and that's a man who makes that choice to stay with a lover. Yeah. I think that Bunny's character is a really important thing to bring up, because if you go back to Jackson's comment about this being a Stepford Wives rip, I don't entirely see this as being specifically about the Stepford Wives. I don't see it as deeply feminine as maybe the creator wanted, or as maybe people wanted to see. I feel like it's kind of a commentary on genders. It's a commentary on the things that we choose when we're trying to choose happiness. Like in Brazil, he would choose to stay in that realm that he was in to be happy. Bunny is making that same exact choice. And she's a woman choosing to do it and knowing well. So that kind of feels like a little bit more nuanced than, say, Stepford Wives.
Yeah. Well, I think they did say at one point, although I couldn't find the quote, that it was like Stepford Wives was one of the inspirations. But like that doesn't mean that they're doing. You know what I mean, like
goes further.
Like a copy.
Once you say like, oh, I was inspired by this is it. People are like, oh, they're just doing, a
ripoff of
Well, especially again, if you're
doing the Stepford Wives,
if you're searching for something to provide a conclusion for her hypothesis, that like the first thing you do, tear it down. It's not good. I didn't, I figured out the mystery. It's a ripoff, blah, 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 this and that. And it's none of those things.
Yeah. Well, we're also we're in 2024. Like at some point, like everything is going to have other things that have inspired it.
I mean, they remade Stepford Wives, but no Nicole Kidman, I think. Right?
Yes, Nicole Kidman, Bette Midler, Glenn Close.
And it's and Jackson just saying it's unsettling is what he meant. I mean,
but I've heard other people make that comment. Yeah.
The whole,
but it's like, did you watch the whole movie though? I mean, it's just like the whole thing is like, clearly there's like something going on, but it's not the same thing.
There's something going on. There's such a heartbreaking moment where where the Frank, like, the Jordan Peterson like character knows that she knows something but doesn't know what it is. And he plays to that by doing the whole like, oh, I've been looking for a challenger kind of thing, knowing that as soon as she challenges him, her whole thing's gonna fall apart because she knows something's going on but doesn't know,
It's the debate me, bro tactic.
Yeah,
sure.
So
I watch it
she kind of runs out of the list because she's like something's going on. They're doing something to us, which already like if you don't want to believe that, right? Like it's hard to make somebody believe that. Yeah, but then adding to that, like she's like, oh, what about this food, huh? And it's like, honestly, kind of a valid, but it's kind of a valid question. But also, it's clearly like a moment where she's run out of things. You know what I mean? And it's like such a heartbreaking, like, oh, you rose to like his bait too, and it's because that was clearly somebody baiting you into,
Of course, making her look hysterical.
And the scene where Harry Styles, he gets like a higher up position at that party, and he's like dancing like a marionette almost, like for like
with that tap dancing thing. Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, can you stop? This is really.
It's so much longer than I remember it.
There's a Dance Revolution sim inside the sim, guys.
It's a mini game.
Is it a life leader? Stop! This is actually kind of scary because he's just like, and his neutral expression is like he has like no expression on his face.
Have you ever seen somebody do DDR? They're like,
it's
serious business. Well, but it's also.
I had one more thing that I wanted to. Another thing that's completely unsettling that's in this that they don't spell out, but that you can kind of gain from even the scenes where, because they don't tell you everything. They only show you what certain things when you're seeing what's actually happening in the real world, right? And one of the things that you see is like when the doctor is asking the questions and he's like answering them, one of them is willing or unwilling, there's one question he asks him that's like is there a previous relationship with this person? As in, like, for some of these people, they've just spotted a woman, drugged them, but they don't spell that part out of it.
It's harrowing to think about, right? Yeah.
Good catch.
Yeah. Do you have?
Which is something that Jordan Peterson kind of suggested. He said something about wanting to in the future we might need to have enforced marriages, and it's like.
But that ties into what my next point actually was, which is that like it's very clear from the beginning, like everything is set up for the men's pleasure, right? And what better time period to set something other than the 1950s for that? The epochal defining patriarchy of all things. The suburban family, the nuclear family, the suburban life, so on and so on. And every part of it is, just like, oh, if you bake this dish, then like he'll get the promotion and this and that, like kind of writ large in that way of that you would almost have like Ozzie and Harriet, Leave It to Beaver kind of style, kind of stuff, right? But again, and one of the clues that something's off is like you do get like some modern lexicon and context where again, there's black people and like there's non-white people, I should just say, and there's other things that like, well, this is not. So then what's the first thing you're going to think of is being like, oh, well, maybe this is some kind of, again, you said, there you go, it's a 1950s nightmare. KT, like The Village, right? Which personally, I did not care for that movie, but like it could be that kind of thing where, oh, there's this commune of
The
these
Handmaid's
people.
Tale.
Sure, where it's like this ensance community that has decided that it's rejecting modern culture and going back to like when things were good or whatever, this regressive attitude, these reactionary thoughts that that usually are ascribed to people like Jordan Peterson, things along those lines, that this would be the natural culmination of that. But then also it's just there's just weird stuff going on where it's like, are they being mind controlled? Like, are they real? Like, what is actually happening? And there's certain
they do the same thing every day.
And Olivia Wilde's character as being like a little more like, she always seems a little different in the entire time. You're like, why does she seem different somehow? So then when you hear the whole like, oh, I'm here by choice, it was just like, oh, that's why. That's why it hits differently.
He's also always the person that when anyone's questioning, like, oh, what you are, the first person to shut up, whoever starts questioning things that they shouldn't be questioning, but in a way that like nobody thinks, oh, maybe this is maybe she's in on something, or maybe I should be questioning. You know what I mean? Like, it's done in a way that you're like, this is really into the cult leader guy, or like his 12 rules.
And she's pretty penguin about the kid wrapping the hose around his neck. She's kind of like, oh, get that off. Like the way she actually treats her kids in the simulation is kind of like she knows they're not real.
I'm calling Santa.
Totally matter.
That's how her kids. Maybe that's how her kids died. Maybe she's.
I mean, maybe.
In the real world.
I want to point out.
She does have big drunk mom energy. Sorry.
Yeah. No. I want to go
someone with a drunk mom.
Conan, you just said about like this whole world is built for male's pleasure, because the guest on my next episode of What If I Don't Like It, Lisa Pons, and I were talking about this movie, and she pointed out something very interesting. All of the sex scenes are shot very much for a female pleasure view. And I'm like, oh, what a dichotomy of worlds to let us know that, like, wow, this is a modern way to shoot or even have sex. Like, are you kidding me? A guy eating a woman out in the 1950s? Like, okay.
I can't do that. See, I'll get jaw cancer.
Well, was it Michael Douglas that said that?
I was like, I mean, to me, all the sex scenes in this movie were very unsettling, just because, like, especially the one where Frank's watching him and she's just like going along and still, enjoying Harry Styles' dick. I'm like, what? I'm like,
it reminds me of when a pet does something they're not supposed to do and they make direct eye contact while they're doing it. That's what it reminded me of.
But it almost speaks to the fact that this film is not really shot or meant to be a promotion of incel behavior or a world that could possibly be great.
Wow, what a cool world.
These like shots of like Patchen as being about women's pleasure and how we should focus on their pleasure instead of this world that focuses on the male's pleasure. And I thought that was a very subtle way to build that into the cinematography and the script.
it's very perspective conscious too. Like I was watching Olivia Wilde, like, and I can pull it up in a little bit, but when she breaks down the dinner scene and she makes the point that the reason that they shot it the way that they did was that it's the first time and the only time in the movie that she's on the same level with Frank, right? Like he's treating her as an equal in that scene in order to fuck her up, of course, knowing that, but like she's still, because she's being treated as an equal, they're suddenly on an equal plane on the table, right? And it's like this is a very perspective conscious, like the entire thing with like Jack being unemployed and feeling like a loser, and then literally drugging and forcing his hardworking doctor girlfriend into the simulation. Like a big part of that is that he wants to restore the balance of the levels of their relationship and be back on top where he feels like men should be, right? Like
which is common for that type of a person, right? And she's a resident surgeon. And of course, he's working crazy hours because it's like a trauma situation and horrible. My friend Leela does that exact same thing. It's cruel and daunting and destroys your sleep schedule. But the idea that he somehow sells it as like, oh well, you weren't happy with the career.
She's like, I love working. What? I love to work.
And he wants it both ways too. He wants her to I saved you from working so that I will work, and working for me sucks. So I want you to know I'm suffering to make sure you have a good time. Like it's such a weird menschy shit
problem,
to do.
Jack.
He's probably working like an email job too.
Oh yeah, I did wonder about that.
Yeah.
It's funny, like with how political this movie is, a lot of people forget Olivia Wilde is a big like left-leaning type of person.
Her uncle was Alexander Cockburn. Like her uncle was.
That's right. We talked about that Booksmart, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Her uncle
was
at
that. She's that gift with Mark Ruffalo.
But yeah, I think that also leads to at the best of times, think back to like the Barbie speech, like the speech with America Ferrera, right? It's like that, but doubly so if you also have deeply held political beliefs as well. And I'm not saying like that's the only reason why there was a groupthink on this, but it certainly didn't help because you have one type of person who's just message discipline, like saying the same thing over and over again, and all their acolytes and all their followers are going to repeat those same things. And if you're in a situation where people are like, oh, well, lol, this press tour is sure crazy. Because if you'll recall, during the very beginning of it, it wasn't reported on negatively. It's just like, wow, it's crazy there was this much drama around this movie. I wonder what that movie is like. And then it became like layers and layers. Oh, did Harry Styles spit on Chris Pine? And I was like, what? What are you even talking about?
Did he?
I don't know. I still don't know. And I'm mad that
Florence Pugh show up I'm like, she's probably like filming a movie, which is probably was true considering she did. I think she probably filmed Oppenheimer.
I think it was Dune.
Dune?
Maybe you're right. Maybe it was Oppenheimer.
But by the way, this world, the built world, kind of looks like the Oppenheimer world too. Like,
oh, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but there's all this. But my point is that there was all this minutia that just was like minutia upon minutia, like layer upon layer of the kind of thing that you all know, not my bag. That's not the thing that I don't go for that at all. But I just been like, wow, it's crazy. Like, why is all this being reported this way? And there's some theories that Jason Sudeikis and Olivia Wilde split up around this time. Jason Sudeikis is like basically became with Ted Lasso became. Yeah. The new model for like nice, sweet, earnest guy. So maybe people were mad about that. Who knows? Doesn't matter.
But
if there's medallions,
he did serve
I did
her
follow
papers.
that timeline.
Yeah, he did serve her child custody papers, I think, on stage while she was trying to screen the movie too.
Yeah, that's a dick move. But but also like I'm someone that I don't care about these people's personal lives. It doesn't matter to me about the art unless it's something horrendous and terrible.
Unless they're hurting other people.
Unless they're actually hurting other people. But my actual point with this, like, it was that I think that like the fact that it wasn't just like, and Olivia Wilde is cool, right? And Jason Sudeikis is like the quintessential nice guy. So people were mad about that.
Yeah.
Mad about that in a way that, but again, if it was a male director that started a relationship with the actress in the movie, nobody bats an eyelash.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like, you'd have to pay me to get angry at celebrity relationships. You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, this is not something that I could
none of
ever
my business.
imagine. Yeah,
I don't care.
it's like when people online seem to just they get home from whatever fucking job they do, and they're just like, oh, I saw this video where this person seems to have disrespected a celebrity I like, and I'm gonna write an essay about it.
The Spitgate part was the worst part of it. I'm like, I'm sorry, what are we even talking about?
But I also think, I don't know if she should have said that she based on Jordan Peterson or kind of alluded to that, but that this was around the time that they were really setting up their Daily Wire media machine, and I feel like that also really went to work on this movie. They're conservative because look, Olivia Wilde trashed the new guy that we just hired for our Daily Wire media machine thing. We have all of the resources and power in the world to try to ruin this fucking press run. So I think that there was a lot of that too, because I remember them making a bunch of videos all angry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were we gonna say, KT?
Yeah.
What was that? What was you
I was gonna say we were talking about Chris Pine getting spit in the face, and I was curious to talk about his performance in his role. As I keep going through this film, I keep trying to dissect places where people told me that it failed for them as a film. And people said that they didn't feel like he was a developed enough or interesting enough baddie. And again, I actually thought that Styles was more of our bad guy, even though he's kind of we love him, but he's bad. It's that complicated abusive relationship, and that Chris Pine's character is more of a Frank Baum, Wizard of Oz kind of situation. He's the man behind the curtain.
Yeah. I think he did a pretty good job playing this charismatic cultist leader who seems very earnest, but there's clearly something going on.
Even definitely more charismatic than the actual people that hold those views and try to have those kinds of followings, which is almost it's a movie, so of course it would be.
It's maybe
he made his own avatar too.
Maybe use Jim Jones as an example and not Jordan Peterson for when you're playing this role, because he's Jim Jones was always a charismatic speaker, which
well, they looked into cult dynamics for this, a bunch. So it's not just this is this one guy and we're making a commentary on it. They're looking at figures that have that charisma that can lead large amounts of young men to do.
Yeah, even they'd say Jim Morrison too, right? It was just like this idea of they're just these people that just have the presence that draws people to them.
Yeah,
and if they don't, then no one's gonna get drawn to them, and then they're not. I'm not saying they're not a danger, but they're a lot less of a danger.
Another moment that made me go oh, maybe he's not actually British in this movie is when they visit Dr. Collins or whatever. He's like, what is that you Brits saying? He's like, keep calm and carry on. He's like,
I knew that, and I knew that he was gonna say it. I was like, he's gonna say keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
How did you guys interpret the stabbing of that character by his own wife and the line that she delivers to him in the end? That feels like a loose end for me, but I am also curious what you guys think.
I mean, it's the same. Well, I think part of it is that same power dynamic kind of thing too. He's finally down here on her, and she's the one that's standing up and is actually getting her power back by managing to, which is kind of crazy that if you die in the simulation, you die in real life. That's fucking insane. Yeah. But
that seems like
exactly. Alice, you gotta leave. You gotta get out of here. She's I'm gonna help.
That's got to be a fine print thing, right?
That feels like something
the Matrix, though.
Fix in the dev release. But that's maybe.
Yeah. I mean, she says now it is my turn. There's a lot of this certain things that make me feel like there could have possibly been a desire for a sequel in aspects of people say that things aren't developed enough or they wanted to know more about the tech. I feel like that could happen in a sequel with she stabs him and says, now it's my turn. And then we never see that character again on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant when she hit. Sorry, I thought you meant when she hit Harry Styles.
No, when Gemma.
When the wife stabs Christopher Pine.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time you can see she's kind of a designing behind the throne kind of character, right? While he's being nice and quiet during that dinner scene, she's the one that snaps and walks out, and you can kind of see the power behind the throne kind of thing going on there.
Which, stand by your man, but from a slight distance.
But that leads me to, and again, the curiosity at the end of like, well, how did this project come together? What are, you know, how like clearly it's done through like the dark web or something along those lines. It's not on the up and up. They can't reveal too many details. The authorities will come get them, et cetera, especially if they're literally abducting women. Hold on. But I think that it's notable that maybe that woman is like, she wants to be the head of it, like the Gemma Chan character.
Yeah.
Maybe she, and like they started as like some weird kind of like, you know, power couple like dystopian nightmare, and she wants to run it her way because she definitely like is coming across like Queen Bee the entire time, and so it would make sense, right, to like have it be like, well, she's got some vested interest in this somehow, and we don't know, and we have to be okay with it not knowing. Some people are never okay with it not knowing, which is how we end up with 3-hour movies, by the way. Go ahead.
What's wrong with an ambiguous ending? Like everyone's like, is she free? I'm like, well, it looks like she gets there just in time, but I wonder what would happen to her after she like wakes up in the real world. Like
that's
part of the sequel, yeah.
Yep.
That's why I feel like maybe it was a slightly less depressing movie than some of the other ones because she manages to get out, assumably at the end, and it's
Get
like,
out.
you know, before too much time is assumably passed. Like,
yeah,
it does sound like the breath is in an empty room, like as opposed to being in the room where she's outside in the kiosk. It does sound like she's waking up in an empty room. I really felt that she woke up outside of the simulation.
There was a lot of, and we're not doing them right yet, but like when I was playing Letterboxd one-liners, there was a lot of like, get out for white women. Okay, cool.
well, all right. So I think one of the things
that's worth like a chuckle, but it's not like,
yeah.
Right. Also,
one of the
75
things
million people said it.
That works for that too is also like, you know, it's and I think that maybe this was an homage to Get Out. It's like, you know, the first character is the black character that's like, this isn't right, you know what I mean, like that's trying to tell her, like, that scene did feel like a kind of Get Out kind of thing where it's like, you know, she's waking up, she's the one that's like doing the like get out right. That's the only time I felt like it was, you know,
also, what's wrong with that? That was a brilliant movie. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, like, but again,
I prefer Us, but yeah.
You guys are bringing up some really interesting points. As we do this whole month on dystopian films, it seems like they have standards that could be interpreted as tropes. And so how mad can you get at a film when it fits its genre very well? And how mad can you get at it when it doesn't?
Yeah, apparently not many people were like, this is a dystopian. They were like, it's a mystery, it's a thriller. I'm like, it's like a dystopian thriller. That's how I viewed it.
Like,
it's 100% a dystopian movie.
The dystopian parts when she wakes up, the simulation seems great.
Well, I mean, I you know, the Matrix analogy holds true. If you think about those beyond the first movie, right? Well, what the second and third movies, what happens? Oh, well, this is like what happens like after the end of the first, where you're like, oh, what you thought you were looking at is completely different.
Yeah,
you know, and so that's something that I think that's potentially very interesting. I personally, I'm not as big of a fan of those movies as the original Matrix, but I loved it for the people that love them. That it's like, you want to know more? Here it is. Looks like this. You know?
Yeah, I just hate how right wingers are like, red pill or blue pill. I'm like, shut the fuck up already.
Well, you clearly didn't understand the.
And would you describe The Matrix as a thriller? I mean, it's actiony and thrilling, but thriller seems to imply this like mystery you have to solve, and that's not really true of The Matrix, because right away they tell you you're in the Matrix. Go with it.
Yeah. They don't tell these women anything. They're supposed to be the doting wives who do the same shit every fucking day. Like, I love the scenes where they're showing Alice doing her daily routine, doing the laundry, Windexing the windows, vacuuming. Every single day she does that same shit. And I'm like, your house doesn't need to be cleaned every freaking day. I know this as someone who cleans houses for a living. Like, you don't have to go that deep. That deep. It's fine.
Well, the only other thing to do is develop a drinking problem there in that town. So.
That's true. The scene where she wrapped herself in this, like, what, saran wrap or whatever? I was like, oh, shit. I'm like, stop it. What are you doing?
There were a lot of symbols of suffocating. Yeah, the wall crushing her. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and she wraps a saran wrap, which is an arresting image. And granted, if you're cutting this in such a way to like not have it be like so mysterious, I guess you would drop some of that. But it's so like, what though? Like, and also it gets across like how conflicted and like unhappy and like how wrong everything is feeling to her, that she's willing to like go to these like depths to be like, okay, I don't understand like what's happening here, but it ain't no good.
Yeah. Well, her waking up also seems tied very distinctly to her emotions, right? Like, as she starts to feel more unsettled in this world and realize like I've only been told the things that I remember from, before arriving in this town, like that kind of thing, right? Like as she starts to wake up, like those images get more and more jarring, and it's like it feels her waking up is almost attached to her emotional state.
Yeah, and that's why she's like, where did you two meet? Oh, you met here? Everyone else has met up here. Like, that dinner scene where she's talking about, like,
they all have the same background. They all have the same sort of like lazy backstory. Oh, interesting. You went to the Poconos, huh? Just like all of us. Yeah, where it says like, oh, all of these similar. Again, they didn't.
Couldn't even get the AI to make more stories.
That's fine. And the husbands are like, oh, fuck.
But that works so well, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why that works so well, because if you think about who would be programming this, it clearly would be very misogynist people. They're like, these bros aren't going to figure it out. So they're going to come at it from a position of that being their weak point, that like things are not going to be as strong and as bulletproof for backstories as they would be. In fact, it'd be quite the opposite, because they're thinking that like, well, once they're these women are all unhappy because they're not in because we need to go back to the 1950s. It'll be fulfilled when they're a homemaker and they're making a home and they have children and this and that. And they earnestly believe these things. So they're not thinking about like, well, what if somebody's unhappy? Because the idea of somebody being unhappy in this situation would never occur to them.
We fixed the one thing that was wrong with the 1950s. There's black people here now.
We did it.
Well, my mom doesn't like cooking, so it's like not every woman wants to cook.
But in this world, like they're again, because they're building this what they consider a utopia, but they cannot consider that a woman would not be interested in those things because it doesn't fit the worldview, and that's one of the great failings of when people. A utopia and a dystopia can be the same thing depending on your point of view. Yeah. And so for them, it is a utopia, right? Of course it is.
There was a quote that I looked at the beginning of this, like trying to do research at the beginning of this. And the quote is like, every utopia or every dystopia is just a failed utopia or something. Like I thought it was like, yeah.
So that's a very interesting question. Would any of the people on the panel take up a complete life of luxury? You have to care for nothing. It is brought to you. Whatever you want is given to you. You cannot ask any questions, and you have to behave to the apex of your gender norms. So you have to be like the guyest guy or the girliest girl. Would you be willing to trade that?
The men are not acting to the apex. It's only the women that
I'm saying, like, assume there's a version where, like, you could.
Sure.
I mean,
if it's like Nosferatu era, I'd be down.
Too bad about those plagues and whatnot. No, leave me in an era with science. Thank you very much. But I mean, okay. I mean, so that's a good point. I guess it would depend on how comfortable you were with your actual life, right? Because you're like,
and gender,
I would like. Yeah, I would like.
Seems like it'd be better for dudes than for women. Gotta say, generally speaking,
like it's like the 1960s. I want a beehive. I want the fake liner. I want to have the mod look. Like, I want to grow up when the Beatles were big and like psychedelic Summer of Love, and I want to go through like the entire like decade of the 60s because that had a lot of like definitely radical changes.
I think too much. So my whole experience to be ruined by the fact that like I know this is a simulation. Like I wouldn't go into a simulation because I'd spend the whole time thinking about how much it sucks that I knew this was a simulation. If the simulation was perfect, I'd be like, this isn't real. It's a simulation.
If we could trick you and have you not know.
Well, then that's just the opposite plot of this movie.
Submissive.
They're doing it to men now. Don't worry, brother.
I mean, I'm critical thinking is unfortunately too ensconced in my entire personality to the point that no one's ever been able to surprise me with like a surprise party, and that's probably okay because I don't like those kinds of surprises. But
man, Conan was planning one for you.
Cancel it now.
Cancel it, kid. I'll figure it out. I always do.
Yeah. I do feel like trad wives and people that you see on Instagram are kind of making this deal.
That's their that's their wish fulfillment.
I mean, they are, but who knows what the fuck their life is like when they're not on the like. I feel like trad wives are the same as any other kind of influencers, right? Like they're using it to try to sell you something. Who knows when they turn off their phone what their what their existence is like? You're only you're seeing their visual or their video avatar, I guess, online of what their life is. And a lot of those, I always feel like there's also like a lot of implied sex appeal that goes to how those people behave in those videos, right? Like it's like this is its own form of seduction for a certain kind of person, to keep clicking on your videos.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, permanently being like a trad person, I don't think I'd
be a kept man.
So this is and it was mentioned before, but late to the party, so I'm not sure if we covered this. But to Rick's point, as much as this simulation is a utopia for the men, they still have to work to pay to live the dream. And that's what I think Rick just said. I wouldn't work in my utopia.
Not so fun now, is
same,
it,
by the way. But like, but that's part of the unease of like, oh, they're going to their place of employment, which is some weird volcano bunker. Like, what is that exactly? Which
in the 1950s is the only way you could get away with that, because everyone, we just dropped the first atom bomb, so there's that like story. But there's also like, I feel like people were spies. Like, you could be like, oh, my job is don't ask too many questions. Like, now people would be like, no, I'm asking you, like, what's your job? Like, I need to know what your employment is.
Yeah. Plus, when you talk about like being a kept woman and having all your needs met, the reply back, like, so you think about when women in the 50s, they had a lot of like oppression, and they had to be beautiful all the time, and they had to have all of these standards to keep the house really clean, and they didn't get allowed to do all these things. The reply back is that, oh, well, men had to carry the family on their back and were 100% responsible for the financial burden of everyone. And that's what this movie is trying to say. Like, these men get to have their utopia, but even then you have to remember that the men are who suffer even for our greatness. Like, they want you to know that they're suffering.
I'm the provider. Yeah, I'm providing for you, and through my labors, you are able to exist, and you must serve my every whim because of it.
It is a very American thing that you like, even in your utopia, you got to go to work, though. Dead? Sorry, no laying off work.
No excuse for laying off work.
They're suffering in the way they believe that the women were suffering in reality.
Right. Absolutely. So you mentioned that for the script for this, which is on the blacklist. This is, and people just if you don't understand what the blacklist is, it's very interesting. I think KT, you did a little video on this.
Oh, quick.
You want to fill people in on that, because I think it's interesting.
Sure. Yeah. It sounds way worse than it is, because when you hear about blacklist, you think of like communism in America, and you're like, oh, there was a blacklist in Hollywood, and it was really bad. Like, no, the annual blacklist is an industry ranking of yet to be produced screenplays that are kind of like floating around and nobody owns, and they could be optioned, they could be picked, they could be rewritten. They're available, and often the like gems are pulled off of this list. Judo was one of them. Social Network was one of them. And this film is one of them. It does get pulled off and then get rewritten, like we said. And I think it was Forrest. Oh, no, it was Conan who sent us what the movie was supposed to be. Throwing it back to you.
Yeah, so it had a very different ending, basically. So there's one also notable that you wouldn't think there'd be a direct connection to Dick Van Dyke, but there is. There was.
This movie's got Dick in it.
and
sure does.
It's got Dyke too, I think, somewhere.
Hey, everybody! Hey, everybody!
No, it doesn't really. But it's fascinating. Like, you wouldn't think Dick Van Dyke in this movie, but it's his two grandkids that wrote the spec script. Like,
yeah,
that's great.
Well, yeah, and which is amazing. And originally, the motivation for it was more direct. Would have been involved the Harry Styles character more directly, and the sort of the face
from the man's point of view,
and that it gave more background on that piece of it. And so one thing that's interesting, because I think one of the coolest scenes in the movie, absent of the plot, is the car chase. I think the car chase rules, and so does Olivia Wilde. Because the car chase was added in during prep after the initial budget was approved. And it's just because she really likes car chases. Like, if you recall, there's one in Booksmart as well. I first of all, I thought I could not like her more, and like, well, there you go.
Across those sand flats, it's so good with those retro cars. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
So she really loves the dynamic intensity that the car chase brings, and that's why she had to win Booksmart as well. So it's all done practically with the special effects coordinator and the stunt coordinator, and they had explosives rigged in the empty cars being pulled on steel ropes across the desert. And then once the car was in the air, a second explosive went off. So it's like I mean, this is like Mad Max stuff, right? This is like I live for this kind of thing, and and these classic cars aren't cheap; they're very expensive too. And so they had to repaint and reupholster all of them to make them look new. And you give one chance. You get one chance to do it. One and one only. And I love that the car the car she drove is silver, like kind of like a silver bullet too, right?
Yeah.
So and apparently like they were considering making it red, but that'd be like 2 on the nose. But something about like the bright chrome on that like dry lake bed, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And so I learned some of this information talking to a friend of the show, an actual friend, Katie Byron, production designer of Don't Worry Darling, as well as Booksmart and many other movies. I also brought up that really awesome house yurt thing that's on the hill, right? Which is an actual place. It's called the Volcano House. It's a landmark. It's a secret landmark. So secret I didn't know about it. It's in the Mojave. This is a real place.
Ooh, the sweet Mojave Desert.
And I know all kinds of, like, I've been all around. I took a bunch of freaking promo pictures in the Mojave, like earlier this year. But yeah, this is a real spot that you can go to and see. There's the mountain, right? So that's like which is crazy because that's such just like a cool, like, here's where the stuff you can't go to this place, right?
Yeah.
And so they modified it, of course, and it was impossible production-wise to shoot in, apparently, because it's just as you see, it's just the one road winding up all the way to the top.
Some of these pictures that are on like Google Images when you look up Volcano House Mojave, like some of the pictures are really fucking intense of this place.
Yeah. So this is like the vibe, like actually inside it, which they apparently weren't able to film inside of it.
It's very 50s.
It fits the vibe, right? Absolutely. And there are a lot of like really, really cool things like this within the Mojave Desert. I just happen to not know about this one, which is absolutely shocking to me. Look at that view. God damn.
Yeah.
but yeah, I love that because the production, because think about, like, let me see if I can find that road again. That, like, you have to go all the way up, just like, remember, like, Florence is going up that hill, right?
Yeah.
They had to do that with all the cameras, with all the props, with, like, everything. Like, have to go up that hill. I cannot stress this enough, the Mojave Desert, which is, like, at the best of times, it's daunting.
Yes.
But I think that's absolutely fascinating. And I think it's one of the things that it makes sense as a change to the plot, because it's sort of like, well, how does she get out? Right. And it was in the original script, it was just, like, goes to a place. I actually don't remember what I said. I sent it. I don't remember what the actual mechanics of it were. But having to go up this, like, jarring looking monument is, like, so much more interesting. Visually, and again, we're talking about a freaking movie here, people. So,
and just for a few shots, because they didn't use the interiors.
It was owned by Huell Hauser, the guy. I guess he did like public television. There we go. California's
Huell
Gold.
Hauser, what's his show?
California's Gold.
Yes, dude. Like, that is a show that's like a perennial on PBS kind of show.
Did anything else shoot here, or is this just it seems like it's so awesome?
Yes. So, I mostly asked about that because I thought the Volcano House was awesome. But they shot, I think, in Palm Springs.
Did anything else shoot at the Volcano House?
Oh,
like, it looks so iconic. Like, I think in the chats, actually, we have someone says, "Didn't Diamonds Are Forever shoot there?"
Ooh.
And I'm curious.
Good question. I'll get my top researchers on it.
Curious. It does look like an amazing location.
Usually put it on IMDb, like if somewhere was used as a.
My top researchers are opening a tab right now. But yeah, I thought that was
researchers,
all
not our researchers on crack.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's for me warrants because that's such a tense scene, and so you just don't see, like, unless you're watching like Rebel Without a Cause or something, you're not seeing like those kinds of classic cars being like raced and like in that manner anymore. I thought that just worked so well that I could see, be like, yeah, let's change the script. And so the script originally had a more the aggressor and the victim kind of back and forth with what would have been the Harry Styles character, but then you miss out on that awesome chase scene, which is like, and again, that comes back to the fact that if you're talking about an alternate reality, dystopian alternate reality situation, well, there's nothing that ominous. You get the shock once of like seeing the character like wake up in reality. You get that one time.
Yeah. Apparently, Huell Hauser died in the house.
Oh, it's haunted
really?
Then. Cool.
Well, he had cancer for a long time, but I guess he chose to.
Yeah, that show of his was like legendary. So, so it's about 100 miles north of Palm Springs. Oh, it's in Barstow. So, okay, that's a little bit outside Mojave.
I remember watching because this is a good movie to watch when you're high. I had an edible once, and when I was watching like that scene, my heart was racing so bad. I was like, "Oh my god, is she going to escape?" And I'm like, "Wait, I've seen this movie before," but still, it's intense.
You got invested. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I like how the tags on I didn't even know there are tags on IMDb. Tags: housewife, oral sex, egg, suicide, feminism.
Oh man,
those are the main.
So just to circle back to what you're talking about, Conan, with the alternate ending. I think the way that it was originally written, some people wanted it to end that way. And it really feels kind of Shutter Island-y to me. The more that I think about it, the less that I like it, where they would actually have her wind up getting institutionalized inside maybe the simulation for having killed him outside of the simulation. There was more outside the simulation scenes. And then there's a way more of a question of, does she get released when Bunny tells her that she could leave the simulation anytime she wants. And so like... Right. That really just feels like, again, you could make it claim it's derivative of something else, and I don't know, I feel like that's too much about the exiting and less about what is actually happening to the character. So I'm glad that they changed it, but it is interesting to know what it was before.
Right, absolutely, and I finally got a picture of the Kaufman house. This is like obviously one of the more other iconic locations. I was trying to find this the entire time. This is where Chris Pine's
Frank's
character.
House?
Yeah, Frank lives there. So he's like the mastermind of the Victory Project. But this is like a really iconic modernist residence. It's very historic. And I thought that looking like, I was like, why does this look familiar? And it's just like it's known as like a very, hey, we'll let you shoot here, but like don't break anything kind of situation.
It even makes sense.
You can put a sex scene in here, just don't break anything.
Well, so it was
why like a super like status conscious couple would like put themselves in like an iconic house in their simulation, right?
Of course, they're going to be in the best one. So it was designed in 1946 by Richard Neutra, who was a Frank Lloyd Wright disciple.
Makes sense.
The wrong word, but you know what I mean. Don't be a dick. But yeah, and I think that's so amazing. Just like how, and I'm pulling it up now, the Cannon View Estates is sort of like where that's the neighborhood that they're all in, right? Yeah. And so this is also like a real place, and this is something where all those mid-century homes, along with the all the picture perfect stuff that's on them and things along those lines, that's all. It's a cul-de-sac. That's very much. So it's all Palmer and Cruzel residences, and there's a lot of Palm Springs that still does look like that, which is interesting. Palm Springs itself is definitely a bit of a retreat for people that retire usually.
Wasn't Sonny Bono the mayor there?
Yeah,
the guy who built the
pre-skiing accident.
The guy who originally built the volcano house has the most CIA sounding backstory of all time that I've ever seen on a thing. So it was built by Vord Wallace, a former Central American missionary and noted California engineer and inventor who worked for Lockheed Martin Aircraft Company in its fledgling plane building days. That is the most like CIA guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So I just think that stuff's fascinating. I mean, I think that like even people that claim that they felt that the movie didn't appeal to them, they didn't work for them, they saw the twist coming, et cetera, et cetera.
I didn't even get scared.
I feel like people universally we're like, yeah, it looked great. Like the production design's beautiful, like the locations were beautiful, amazing.
The costumes,
great car chase scene. The costumes were amazing.
We gave Katie an Oscar.
Exactly. We made a special Oscar just for Katie Byron.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It said in my review that all the locations were like so pretty, I wish I could live in them, but also at the exact same time, somehow so incredibly unsettling that I definitely did not want to live in them. And I think that is such a thin line to walk, and that Katie did it really, really well. It's something about the cleanness of everything, and I know she's meticulously cleaning it every day, but the eerie, like unlived, performative beauty
museum
was so
piece
there.
almost or something. Yeah, just like where I love the fact that using actual places that are true like that have, like, in some cases public access, but are, you got to wear booties when you go into it so they don't screw up the original tile floors. So stuff like that along those lines.
Put on some booties so you don't mess up our original tile floors. Come on now.
Well, you're literally,
or use hot water on those tile floors. That destroys them too.
Yeah, I mean, like in some, because these were all 1940s, but like that is a thing you do. I mean, if you think of like Frank Lloyd Wright, for instance, like if you go in and do a tour, it's like these were made in the 1920s. We don't want your freaking kids on here, okay?
No, disease we probably haven't even heard of. If you have bacteria, we probably haven't even.
Yeah. So Florence Pugh, we canonically established rules in this movie, and she's awesome. I don't think anybody's like in doubt about that. I think Chris Pine does a really good job. Love Nick Kroll. Nick Kroll was a great, just that kind of somewhat scummy, kind of just like, of course you're here kind of character.
Yeah.
Like he does that kind of role well.
And Olivia Wilde, of course.
If I get somewhere and Nick Kroll's in there, I'm like, yeah, this is a simulation. Oh, in my neighborhood. Oh, one more thing I wanted to say about locations. I think one of my favorite lines in this that like established this so much is when they're like, oh, they're building another roll of we love the 50s, don't we, folks?
But we wouldn't want to live there. No, very true.
I didn't say all that. No, but there's like another row of houses behind our house. Or behind our houses, right? And she's like, so we'll be closer to town. And then they're like, how would that make you closer to town? And she's like, we're not going to be the farthest away from town anymore. And it's like,
Peggy said that, I think.
That's such an interesting,
it's socially closer.
Yeah, it's like a it's both status obsessed and like, the kind of like gibberish that you hear from somebody that you're like, this perfectly kind of sets up this world that at least the enforced part of like, the conversation.
Yeah, queen bees, petty despots, like it's all there. Like if you're any like homeowners association, it's probably going to be no different. But it's
and just like the 1950s, if you start having a nervous breakdown, you're out of the social club.
Right.
Stop. It's very inconvenient. So I was wondering if you guys would just play a quick recasting game with me because I loved everybody except Harry Styles, and it's not that I hated him. I just felt like the character could have been better. And in my version, I would have loved it to have been Michael Shannon.
Holy moly! I stop right there. You struck gold. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I wanted to establish. Like a lot of people bagged on his performance, but I'm saying if this is like more or less his first movie, I mean, okay, like he did. But is he also against like a powerhouse?
He also had to like fake doing a British accent. Like that's why he sounds so weird in that ending. Like, I gave this to you, Alice. Like all that. I'm like
the Michael Shannon version of that though. He'd be like Boardwalk Empire, and he'd be like, he'd be like, "Welcome to the 50s." Like with his.
I know Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh did We Live in Time Together. I think Andrew Garfield would have made a good
absolutely.
Jack
Yeah.
Although it's hard to imagine him like thrown into the 50s for me. I don't know. It's like his hair. It's just his hair and his look is like.
Can I tell you this is not a fantasy casting, but Kiki Lane's character originally was going to be Dakota Johnson.
Oh, well, I would have believed she was an NPC.
Although I was going to say I constantly believe she's waking up from like a simulation. Like.
Catching flag. To catch a flag.
Yeah. No, but I think that we're were right to say that Harry Styles did a great job for someone who is new to acting, but I think that the role could have been really chewed on by somebody with season on them, like an Andrew Garfield, a Michael Shannon.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's well. First of all, you wouldn't have had the drama, the off-movie drama.
First of all,
Yeah.
But I think that it is the one thing that when I see over and over again these same critiques, it's like I don't think he's terrible. If someone is bad, I'll usually be like they're bad. I don't think he's terrible. I just think I think you said it in your review, KT. It's like, oh, it would be interesting to think about what that would have been if somebody that is a seasoned actor, because I bet it could have been more.
Make him.
Yeah, that would have been interesting too.
I feel like I get unsettled whenever I see like those guys. Looks good, but it's also like slightly unsettling his presence in every movie that he's in.
Yeah,
even older Skarsgård does that too.
It's With Words bringing up something important that Harry Styles is the alt casting. In my opinion, Harry was a better choice than the original person.
Oh yeah, no one's gonna argue against that. Ugh.
He's yelling, just do it at her.
Shia the Beef.
Yeah,
not a fan. I was, and here's the thing, and I hate to be that guy, but for this guy, I'm gonna do it. I wasn't a fan before he was outed as being the kind of dude he is.
Same.
I just didn't like him.
Weird.
And I don't get it like a special cookie for that, or an award, or a medallion, or anything. But I've never liked that guy. So
a lot of those Transformer movies are a fuck you to cinema. It feels like.
Michael Bay is in the Criterion Collection for his other work, though.
That's true. That's true. But I think it's you cast someone like Harry Styles because you want a star. You want someone with star power, right? And again,
it kind of backfired. They got too much of what they wanted with that casting.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You have to have someone that's enough of a star that they're going to bring star power, but not too much that like their name on the marquee is like, everything from there is about that. Like it overshadows the movie.
And then
you're trying
you
to
have all of the what would they like? So Taylor Swift is Swifties. What are his acolytes called?
Harry's? I don't know.
Stylies?
Harriers? I don't know. But stylies.
They make very good hats.
I feel like they just called it like, because it was right before the pithy social media stuff was like really popping up. So I feel like they just were like, oh, One Direction fans. Like they didn't even they had some
One Directioners.
They didn't even give them like a Swiftie style nickname.
But they were people that were very online and very interested in his personal life and very interested in him as a person and in that way that superstars are, right? And I think that detracted from the movie, and it again just only added fuel to the fire for all of this non-movie related thing. That again, like when I said it before earlier in the show, going to say it again. When it got time, like did or did not somebody spit on someone else at a ball game? It's like what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Like that's like insane. I don't care.
And I totally empathize with wanting to get into acting, wanting to break into acting, and you're gonna have to start somewhere. And we keep saying it's not a bad performance. Yeah, so like I feel for the guy that so much of his involvement created so much worse than like I just want to try and do movies.
Yeah, but he had a big year this movie came out in 2022, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he had a big year
Strong
with
year.
that with a Watermelon Sugar. Like he had a really big like album that came out that year, so a lot of people ended up forgetting about Don't Worry Darlings. I mean, even Harry Timothy Chalamet played him on SNL. He's like, I'm an essential fashion man. I do it for everyone.
What's crazy is you could be making all this up and I would know the difference.
But it's a bit like when Michael Jordan wanted to play baseball. He earnestly wanted to try a thing that maybe he wasn't super gifted as. And Harry Styles obviously gifted as a musician. Tons of people love him as a musician. And he's like, you know what? I want to go outside of my bailiwick and try something. And so much of his luggage, his baggage, it is that he couldn't try another form of art. And as an artist, I'm going to stop and be like, oh, that's sad. That hurts.
Yeah, again,
me.
I probably want to be David Bowie for sure. I mean, like, it's natural to, hey, let me try this. Let's see, maybe it'll be good in this. Yeah, maybe not. Again, like, look at Bo Jackson. He's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe not. And I'll ruin my new girlfriend's career, but
More like a Bruce Willis.
Wouldn't go that far. Oh yeah, with this blues band. Wait, no.
With the return of the Bruce, yeah.
Russell Crowe has his blues band. Yeah, Bruce had like his crooner record, right?
Yeah, but he should
hence
not have
Hudson
been
Hawk.
Javert in Les Mis. Okay, I will die
Bruce
on that
Willis?
hill.
So speaking of music, music in this rock. So first of all, all the needle drops are so good. Shabooms in here, Oogum Boogum Boogum. I forget the name of that song.
Tears
but,
on my pillow.
So many like great, not like the hugest song at that time period, but just really good, like meaty songs that establish mood and music as a character for like the kind of world that they're creating. So good. And the score, which is that deeply unsettling, that kind of like the voices and stuff, where you're like, all right, something ain't right, man. You don't have this kind of music when everything's going wonderful.
I also have the song that I really like, the Skeeter Davis "End of the World," which Skeeter Davis, but like that song, like "Don't They Know It's the End of the World?" That gets crushed by the. I don't know. I like that song. I feel like it had a resurgence of that show. It's kind of corny, but the "End of the Fucking World." When they had that show on Netflix, like
the one with
the British people. Yeah, the one with the Brits.
You know, the Limeys. They get their own show now. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, I think it's a banger soundtrack. I think the score is fantastic. For me, it's the kind of thing where I was annoyed that people didn't want to talk about that. Yeah, where it's just like they didn't even want to bring it up. They weren't even. Again, did they even see the movie? I don't know. They surely didn't pay attention. If so, it's good.
Love the music. I'm a huge fan of 50s and 60s music.
They gave Florence Pugh and Harry Styles like a music credit for doing the "Don't Worry, Darling." Dun, 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 love you
the
all.
song she kept humming throughout the movie.
Felt like something up of La La Land soundtrack.
That's on the soundtrack with them as like the people that, which I use that for our TikTok.
Yeah, and it immediately got put on a playlist by somebody that collects reels that have that song, I guess.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that this is they did like such a great job with the music direction, and that's usually the first thing where I'm like, ugh, great. What are we hearing for the 1,000th time? That's like the same thing that everyone has done. You know, like that's sort of my my normal take on those kinds of things. And it was and the fact that it's noticeable in a good way is fantastic. Like it's I know Brenton. I don't know Brenton Wood, but I mean I know of that song. Like my ex-bandmate had like that single, and I was like, "Fuck, this song's great." Like, was this a hit? He's like, kinda. And I was like, but it was one of those things I'd never heard it in a movie. I think I'd heard it in a commercial once, and it just was like part of like the hook. Yeah, it's so freaking great. Yeah, that's I'm talking about it. The Oogum Boogum song by Brenton Wood.
Yeah, I love Tears. I love Little Anthony Imperials, and like the scene where I think the Tears on My Pillow was used when she was like cracking the eggs. I think.
Yeah.
I was I love this song.
And the eggs are empty. Yeah.
Well,
and it's nice. Well, I was.
Excuse me.
This was the next point I was going to make, that the music selection was versus the cast, right?
Yeah.
And so like they went out of the way to pick music from black artists in the day, which again shows you it wasn't the 1950s immediately.
But I feel like it also like, some of the songs from the beginning, right? Some of them were like almost like a commodified what somebody today would think of as 50s music too, like a lot of it, right? Like I feel like it's kind of so this world where you're kind of seeing this and you're being brought into it. It's like a lot of it is like 50s music that we know as 50s music, right? Like
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I dig it. And I found I was not. I guess I could have asked my source about the score, just like the incidental, like creepy, unsettling, like vocal music, which I thought was great as well. I mean, that was
some of that, like Akira breathing.
Yeah, like those horror movies. There's horror movies that like could never. With that, you know, it was like so effective. It's like, oh my god, like it just makes me like something like really jacked up's about to happen.
Yeah. It did feel like Midsommar, where again we've got Florence Pugh, and there's more of a like ethnic breathing heavy bass soundtrack, and then also her face. It's really compelling together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can start there and make pretty much any movie you need.
Yeah, and I'd sit my ass down and watch it.
Yeah.
I watch anything she's in.
It's like Florence Pugh goes to like Thailand and gets like inducted into like a Thailand cult or whatever, and I'd still be like a Thailand military cult, and I'd still be like, okay, I don't know whatever hijinks she's gonna get in this time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in. Great, let's go. I'm here for it. Yeah. So I got a thing. I want to make sure everyone get a chance to talk about the music. Anything else to speak on for that? Okay. Then I'm going to read a thing that again, friend of the show, Katie Byron. Spoiler alert: we were going to have her on for the episode. She's both moving, international move, I might add, and also dealing with a sick husband and like new kids. But we love her dearly. She's welcome on the show anytime for any movie, not just ones that she works
She's an
on.
Oscar winner.
She's an Oscar winner in our hearts. Yes, absolutely. We've awarded her an award that is non-official of any kind. But yeah, I think that's something where I got a statement that I'm gonna apparently pull up on my phone because my computer is being a jerk here. And of course, Katie Byron also she had The Curse too, which is a great show with the other amazing thing that Emma Stone did with that year. It was like one of the best television shows as well as one of the best movies for that year. She also did Booksmart, which we've covered on this very show
with her
and with Katie Byron, and hopefully we'll have her on again for something in the future. She's worked Problemista, also really good. Final Girls, so many great movies. Anyway. We're devastated not to have her, but she sent a prepared statement. Not prepared statement. Sounds like she's like entering the court record, but she sent something that said I could read on air if I wanted to, and I do want to. So here we go. When Olivia first sent me such a feminist script, I had a thought. Didn't we already crush the patriarchy with Me Too? But I was so wrong, and the release of this movie and present-day events really illustrate that. Olivia is one of the hardest, if not the hardest working directors I've ever collaborated with. When people attack the directing of Don't Worry, Darling and praise the filmmaking, I wanted to scream. She's the reason the craft filmmaking is what it is. We never separate the craft filmmaking from the directing when it comes to a male filmmaker. The thing that frustrated me most about the release is the critics skewered Olivia when they pulled her name away from the very thing she was responsible for. She is hands-on for all of it. So when the rumor spread that her collaborators stepped in to direct, it's just so far from the truth it's offensive. Olivia is a model director for me. For my very first experience working with her, I thought, wow, this is the future of filmmaking. Leading with play, kindness, and vision. She goes to bat for her crew so they can take large and heavy creative swings and emboldens them. I was hoping the tides would turn and more like her would emerge. I think that's why I found it so frustrating to hear the attacks on her leadership. I would be crushed if they ate her up, but the woman is strong and she's still dreaming and playing. Maybe now more than ever. And she's still getting funding. Don't Worry, Darling was a commercial success. And I'm happy I'll get to work with her again very, very soon.
Yeah.
So there you go. Katie Byron. So,
yeah, y'all should have talked to her instead.
Right, exactly.
Well, everybody that they really talked to, at least on record, was like, these things aren't true. And then the media would just go, but another source that we're not going to name.
But what if they were?
You're seeing the same exact thing happen with that Blake Lively movie right now, where there's like waves of truths coming out, and it just you can't even look at the movie through it.
We need a whole after party to unravel that one.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that real piece of work.
I mean, that movie romanticized domestic violence. That was a first red flag for me when I heard they completely changed that aspect of the novel or whatever. But like, yeah, I knew something was up with that. I'm like, this doesn't pass the smell test to me.
Okay.
By the way, the budget was $35 million, and then the box office. Hold on, the box office was 87.6 million worldwide,
which is objective success. And again, that would
Canada, believe it or not.
What was the movie, KT? We were talking about some movie where it was like it was still somehow considered a success, even though it didn't recoup. I can't remember what this was, but this was like not that long ago. But it was like, oh, but it's that guy, so it's okay. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what this is?
I can only think of that one movie that only made $207 right now. Stage Fright, where the box office money is $207. They wanted to make sure they got it that accurate. I can't think of what you're describing right now.
No, I can't either. And but it was something where it's like a strike 12 situation where it's like, all right, strike 12, and it's like, okay, but it didn't even like actually make money. And for me, that isn't the metric of a good film. But like, if that is your metric, and clearly for a lot of these box office money people, that's what the metrics are. Did it make money or didn't it? It's like, no, that's a hit that recouped and made profit. So
two different headlines for the same day. Don't Worry, Darling sizzles with 19 million box office opening. Don't Worry, Darling comes to 19.2 million box office opening.
Oh my God, this reminds me of when the Marvels came out, and the same time the Willy Wonka movie came out, and everyone's like, they made the same exact weekend numbers, yet the Marvels got shitted on, and yet they praised the Wonka movie, and I'm like, women. Whoa.
And this movie is doing very well right now on HBO Max, which is like a second life for it, where we are seeing that people like Forrest and myself who are coming to watch it so far out of it that it is having
people
a
in the
second
chat,
wave
right?
of
Or even
success.
saying that they watched it recently and they thought it was good. I got somebody chiming in on not even the review I did yesterday, but my review from like a couple of years ago, being like, "Oh, cool! I'm glad to see someone speak sense about this." And and it's. I just can't stress this enough. I don't think movie ever got a fair shake, and I say that as someone that there's some movies I definitely do not give a fair shake, but this movie.
I feel like I come to almost everything late, unless we're doing it for the show.
And I think,
but it's almost better to have it absent the drama, right?
Yeah. Good reminder that the box office market is not like the only way you can measure this, because of course streaming has a second wave of success that you'll see people engage with.
And we used to talk because the thing now. Is big box office pleasers are normally critical successes now. And it used to be in days of yore that there was popcorn movies and there were critics movies. And those were not the same thing in any way, shape, or form. Every once in a while they might be. But there'd be movies that like critics would just pan and would be huge hits and vice versa.
Like Fury Road is one of the few crossovers.
That's when, and I think people are used to seeing all of those things be one thing now. No, those used to be very different. So... Also, stuff costs more than it used to. Letterboxd is a place for film lovers to talk out with and to each other about the films that they love, maybe the films that they didn't love, or somebody told them that they didn't love. And everybody gets to opine and chime in, have their say, get to work on their tight five in a public environment, maybe making the exact same joke that 70 people before you made about it being Get Out for white women. But everybody gets to chime in, not just Siskel's and Eberts of the world. And of course, every week these are collected for this show by yours truly, where we put them on screen to react to, and that's what this bit is. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Don't Worry, Darling. Forrest, let's roll them. Incel to English pipeline.
I mean, fact. I like also that, like, I don't know if I wonder if it was in the original script that they're like, maybe we should keep having him be English for all the lines, but like, because maybe his acting isn't fully, because they still have their big fight scene in with his British accent. I'm pretty sure.
Hard to argue with.
We need a way to explain you being British, because the American accent is not working for us.
I thought this was going to be a rom-com, but shit got deep.
Yeah, the whole box office thing, right? Like, I wonder, like, what the level of box office for like people that went in there just being like, it's Harry Styles. Like, I want to
just assume it's going to be a rom-com. Yeah. I thought it was.
There's no way
anyone but you or something.
His first shot at a movie or whatever, second shot at a movie on something political.
Shit didn't get deep on this one. Yes. The amount of boxes being eaten in this movie could supply an Amazon warehouse.
She makes him dinner. He decides to eat what he wants to eat.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's not really the 50s.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again,
that nickel for every time Forrest said that.
Well,
About eating pussy? No. this ain't the 50s.
Olivia was wild for this.
Nice fun.
This movie is great when there isn't someone in your ear telling it's shit.
Oh,
Most
this
accurate one-liner.
Please don't watch it. Please don't. I'll start crying if you do. If you like this movie, I'm going to kill you.
There's way more than 13 likes. A cautionary tale about the dangers of mysterious yurts and trusting men.
Dude, I've been talking about, the dangers of mysterious yurts. I do not trust. If someone has a yurt on their property, I'm like, oh, I'm out of here.
You'll never see me again.
Yeah. As the normal yurts are fine. The mysterious ones, you can tell them.
You can tell them from a distance.
I mean, look, Florence Pugh has taught us this more than once. I feel like there's
oh my God, yes.
Yep.
Samar had dangerous yurts too.
Yeah. If you show up on somebody's property and they have a danger, if they have a mysterious yurt and or a building structure that's just not just a little bit out of whack, right? You got to get out of that place.
Yep. Get the fuck out.
He said A-frame, stay for an hour.
I did, in fact, worry, darling.
True, me too.
Same.
I don't know why I decided to go with the Nick Kroll and Olivia Wilde as a couple in this, but they're such a funny couple.
Love it.
Yeah, that's talk about someone punching them out of their weight class.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nick.
And then
I thought you were talking about her.
And then you find out she chose to be in there and married to Nick Kroll. That's crazy.
Yeah, wow, yeah. She must have really liked them kids.
Really. And yet she still let the kid wrap the hose around his neck.
I know. Whatever, it doesn't matter.
He's a little kid. It's fine.
It's not real.
He's a visual learner. Anyway.
If I had a nickel for every time a Florence Pugh character was in a weird cult, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
And it's weird that they both had yurts.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tag.
Oops. Going back.
Yeah, I still like this a lot, so put me in jail or something. It's a tag, which I like.
Yeah.
What was
Kristina, that's your review?
Yeah.
Put her in horny jail.
Yeah.
Horny jail, everybody. Thank you. Harry Styles Discord mod jump scare.
It really is, though. Dude, it really, they got me with that one. They're like, this whole thing was a simulation. I was like, yeah, I got that. They're like, but Harry Styles looks like this. I'm like, ah!
I went, oh God,
Harry Styles is American.
And
greasy hair?
Which is sort of like, it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, I think Forrest, you mentioned it's like the 80s, it's the nerdy girl who gets the makeover. We just take off the glasses and
and
brush her hair.
But in his case, you also have to put him in the shower. He's so fucking villain
because he's so dirty.
Yeah. I wonder if
Jordan Peterson.
That's probably why he got fired from his job.
I wonder if the guy from Freaks and Geeks knows he has one shower and remove his glasses away from looking like Harry Styles.
Martin Starr, come on, moving extravaganza.
I feel like ironically that guy is like the one man that Jordan Peterson actually would have helped. He'd be like, clean your room, and then the guy would be like, wow, my life is a lot better. My room and me are both
true.
Upon my third rewatch, I'm removing half a star for Harry Styles' tap dancing scene. That man needs to be stopped.
Still really like though with Mom Crave. What?
I like people's tags here.
Still really liked it.
A lot of tap dancing. That tap dancing, it goes on like about a minute longer than you think it's going to.
More like 30 minutes longer than you think it would, because it's like he's a fucking puppet.
There is something pretty funny about wanting to impress somebody so much you literally have to tap dance for them.
Yeah. It's like a whirling dervish where he's getting more and more out of control. The dancing is going to go beyond his own capacity, and he's dancing himself to death.
Yeah, see? Whirling dervish. It comes into town, you can't stop dancing.
But to me, it almost hit a little bit, not in the way that people ever say things are Lynchian, but with stuff David Lynch does, where you're just with something for a time period, ha ha, and then it stops being funny.
We're going to make Harry Styles dance in this movie. Start dancing, Harry.
But then it's like, then it's weird, then it's funny again, and then it's just kind of sad or like unsettling somehow. You know what I mean? Where it's like you're just left to like change the definition of what it is you're looking at. It was not just giving an excuse for
your
that
dancing will make Conan Neutron, a man you don't know and who doesn't know you, feel all kinds of emotions. Keep it going, Harry Styles.
I don't think that it was exclusively in there because Harry Styles can dance. Like, I do think there was a narrative use for that scene and the reason why it was shot like that. Yeah.
Harry Styles, I hope you can dance because this scene is really going to blow the pants off Conan Neutron.
Talk about narrowcasting. Olivia Wilde body slamming Nick Kroll had me kicking and screaming.
Okay, so the first time I watched it, I didn't like, there was just so much going on in that scene. But then I saw this Letterboxd review, and then I watched it again, and I was like, "Oh fuck, she really body slammed."
She bodies it, man. It's awesome.
You get the feeling maybe that wasn't in the script, you know.
There you go. Those are Letterboxd one-liners for Don't Worry, Darling. Please follow the show at our Letterboxd HQ account at Movie Night Extra, where we have content for all the great episodes that we do, all the great movies that we cover on here, as well as shorts-related materia, et cetera, ad infinitum. You can also follow Simulate the Dragon of Chaos at Always Flock over there.
I do think this movie would be a lot funnier if you replaced all of his like Frank speeches with actual Jordan Peterson lectures.
Where's that at it? Yeah, sure. At Always Flacco, he's covering all the stuff that we do in the show as well as all the attendance stuff. I noticed you were going on Eggers' journey in advance of Nosferatu, which is nice.
And I'll probably be continuing my Eggers journey, this week.
There you go. Don't forget the Northman. That's the one everyone seems to forget about. So follow him at Always Flacco on Letterboxd. I, of course, am the Victory Project CEO at Conan Neutron. I'm doing the highbrow, the midbrow, the populist fare. Follow me for Criterion Challenge 2025. I think I'm 3 in because I just started early. So I did it last year, too. It's fine. There's no rules.
Cheater.
There's no rules. Also, if you are interested in taking the Criterion Challenge along with me and KT Baldassaro down there, you can do so. Join us. We have a channel for it in our Discord. And I even did a little video. To tell you how best to do it and make it an enjoyable experience. So there you go. That's how much I appreciate that. Kristina is Harry Styles' accent. I thought that's a Harry Styles agent at first, but accent is actually better.
Kid, I got you a new role. You're going to have to dance. You're going to have to speak in an American accent. Can you do it?
You got to sing. You got to dance. It's going to be crazy. You got to eat some box.
Stars in my day used to be able to do all those things and eat box.
It's a triple threat. He sings, dances, and eats box.
Triple threat. It sounds like they're threatening you with the Harry Styles thing too. You're like,
now if you're Michael Douglas, that would be a threat. Thank you, Michael Douglas. Everybody.
If you guys don't behave, we're gonna make you watch Harry Styles eat another box.
Adam Kristina on Letterboxd. You can follow her along. She's been on a logging spree compared to normal. So follow her for her takes on what we do here. Exactly. Nosferatu defenders, rise up, rise up.
Think of all the negativity. Where's the Nosferatu, huh? Where's that movie?
Mid-Century Misery over there. KT, I Move Your Runtime. She's got a great Letterboxd account. Again, you can follow her for the Criterion Challenge, just alongside me as well for that. And she's also logging all this great stuff for her show, What If I Don't Like It, as well as Movie Runtime, and also just apparently just for pleasure. Just watching movies for pleasure now and again as well.
I don't know what the hell is going on with that. It's a fucking mess. I'm addicted, y'all.
There you go. She likes the movies. Let's hit with the plugs.
If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then hit the bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. And we'd humbly request that you watch the video to the end because it helps us with the algorithm and helps more film fans to discover the show. We're also monetized. If you want to get your chat questions definitely read on stream, you can always send us a super chat, which will help us keep the show going. Every cent helps. If you're watching on Twitch, you can gift us a free sub on Amazon Prime with your Prime membership, but getting subs on Twitch is always appreciated, and it helps to follow us on there as well. We also have an audio feed, which is available wherever you download podcasts, if you prefer to listen to podcasts rather than watch the stream. That's updated usually the same day we stream, but watching on YouTube and Twitch is the best way to get the show first, live as it happens. If you want to support us with a monthly donation and get access to all of our after parties forever, which go patron only after we do them, you can become a patron at patreon.com/movie night extra. Link is in the description for that. It really helps us keep the show going since we do have some expenses to make this happen. We also have a Discord community. Link is in the description for that. We sometimes watch movies we cover on there. We get into conversations about everything from film to TV shows to related podcasts. We even have a Discord channel for memes. It's really fun on there. You can find us on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter, and Threads. You connect with us on all of those. Talk to us. We'd love to hear from you. Lastly, we recently made a TikTok at Movie Night Extra where we're putting up short form clips from the episodes. Okay, passing this to Conan so he can tell you about his music and this week's Protonic Reversal. Conan, who's on Protonic this week?
Again, no Protonic this week because I'm taking a break, tough guy. But be back at it next week with Jim Kimball of Laughing Hyenas, Mule, Jesus Lizard, Jensen Kimball Trio, et cetera, et cetera. That was a long delayed one. So there's one coming up there. Kerosene 454 episodes still in the Patreon queue only. Patreon.com/Protonic Reversal. $1 a month for advance access. The Jamie Stillman of Earthquaker Devices and Harriet the Spy, a Party of Helicopters episode is now in the general feed. So you can get that without giving me a dime if you want. As Conan, Neutron, The Secret Friends, a bunch of good announcements coming up. Can't say anything about them just yet, though, but there will be more than enough news for that coming up pretty soon. Caterwall announcements soon as well. And like 3 other things. It's gonna be an announcement January for me. Is basically what it is. So this
announcement yet? Wait, how do you like
announcement where?
I have it in my head. Announcement January or whatever. You know, like
announce. Yeah, we're gonna workshop this material.
Announceary.
But sure. Yeah, that's the best one we can come up with in short notice. Give us a break. We do this for free.
Announcement.
Announcement.
Anyway, as
my announcement.
Watch this space for big things coming, as they say. The big things that are coming usually a band announces a show. But
I hope you're holding space for all these announcements.
Speaking of holding space, Kristina, what do you got coming up?
Oh, well, I'm going to stream after this, do almost like a little bit of overnight stream, and I'm going to get drunk on New Year's Eve with chat. It's going to be fun. We're going to go over all the things that happened in the year.
The whole year? Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very fun. Just the going over all the stuff that happened in the year part of it.
Trust me, there are trivia ways to go about it that makes it faster.
Were you going to put in song in the style of We Didn't Start the Fire?
Oh Lord, that was
fine. We kind of did. All right, we didn't start the fire, but we definitely provided the bombs that started the fire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, at least the original one mentions Palestine. Just saying.
I did. Oh man, that's true. Also, I did a review of a movie in the style of We Didn't Start the Fire, but I did as a comment on someone else's review, and I regret doing that because I don't remember who I did it with, and I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. But it was for Maestro. It was for the Nostro.
Yeah.
Yeah, where's that Nosferatu?
Also, of course, I watched Nosferatu. Absolutely loved it. People did.
Yeah, same.
Again, people don't understand it. They're like, he's a rapist. I'm like, listen to Lily Rose Depp explaining the relationship between Ellen and Count Orlok, please. She gets it because she played the role and worked with Robert Eggers on it. But also do January 6th, I'm gonna be doing a collab
January 6th.
I'm doing a collab stream with One Man Politics. He went viral for debating Ben Shapiro on Jubilee. So that's gonna be fun. We're gonna play Secret Hitler, so that should be fun.
I'm trying to think of a good succumb to pun, but nothing's coming to mind because
Secret Hitler is what I would tell people my job is on the Don't Worry Darling town. They'd be like, oh, what's your job at the Victory
Secret
Project?
Hitler.
I'm Secret Hitler.
Exactly. Nosferatu next week, by the way.
Yeah,
can't wait. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
Even Eileen Jones grudgingly liked it.
Yeah, it's great. It's high praise indeed.
She made sure to note it was a grudging. She grudgingly liked it.
Flaw of triumph.
I think we're gonna have her on for Nora, which is a movie that she did not qualify with any when we do Oscar movies in February. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited for that. She actually.
I finally saw Nora. I saw it on the day before Christmas Eve and fucking loved it.
It's really good.
Nice.
I think we haven't officially announced that, but that's one of the ones that are definitely on the docket.
We're definitely, yeah.
I'm Team Nora because I support Ukraine.
KT, what do you got? Get out of this.
I got that Back to the Future 2 episode dropping on the 1st of January with Lisa. We're going to talk about why they had seen both 1 and 3 many, many, many times, but had missed 2. It's a really fun episode. A person you probably haven't heard from before who is actually very versed in film and stuff like that. So it's nice to bring a newer voice to podcasting. It will be also available on YouTube with full footage. We're doing that now. All of season 2 will be podcast audio only if you prefer, but then you can see the people talking because just like us right now, it's kind of fun to see the people talking.
They should listen once on audio and then like think to themselves, I wonder what this person looks like, and then make a guess, write down the face you think this person has, and then see if they got it right by watching the video.
When I started doing the video for Protonic Reversal after like 6 years of doing it audio only, somebody, and I think they were attempting to give me a compliment, I'm not sure, was like, I thought you would look way different and be more nerdier. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Conan. That was
me.
Yeah. Sorry.
Like, thank you.
Like,
It
wow,
sounded like you wore glasses.
Yeah,
maybe
that was it. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna have a face for audio podcasts, but
I thought you could look like Martin Starr, who was catching all kinds of flack in this episode.
No,
I like Martin Starr too.
Martin Starr's great
too. I do too.
Now I'm never gonna get to meet him.
Remember him in Knocked Up where he had to do like that beer challenge? He just kept getting dirtier and dirtier.
Party Down's like one of my favorite shows of all time. That's when I first saw him in something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
nice.
Anyway.
Yeah, I think for me it was Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah,
which actually, wait, you're right. Freaks and Geeks was first, then Party Down.
Yeah.
But
in fairness, my husband looks like Martin Starr, so like we know how I chose on that.
Yeah.
Damn, so you're doing some subliminal messaging to Martin Starr to
I'm
knock his ass.
just wondering if I can go in the other room and be like, honey, I got to give you a haircut real quick and just see if we can make you look like Harry Styles. Not that I just need to know.
So your next guest on What If I Don't Like It? Explain what it is for the people that like. This is crazy. Like interacting with Back to the Future in this way is crazy to me.
Yeah. So if you're not familiar with What If I Don't Like It, the idea is that we get you to watch a movie that you have been hesitant to see and kind of decided that you knew was going to maybe be bad. And so you've avoided it perhaps your whole life. And this friend that I have, for reasons you have to watch the show to understand, really loves Back to the Future and really loves Back to the Future 3, but has never seen Back to the Future 2 and kind of refuses to. It's like, I don't know if it's going to be good. So I had her sit down and she watched it and we talk about why in the first half they didn't. And it's really cute. And we uncover the fact that this is a trend for her and there are other franchises for which she missed 2.
Did she dip out on? Wow.
She was like, I'm not gonna. And then comes back around and does eventually catch them. So it's a trend for this person. Yeah, it's very interesting, and then you can watch and hear if she liked it after all, having really loved 3 and 1. Most people hate 3, which is so great. Like
3 is like, are you with like trains? Why did you watch 3? Like, I mean, like yeah.
So the reason makes so much sense when you hear it, but it's like you can't think of it ahead of time.
Right.
Of course, that makes sense. So, and then other than that, I do want to tell people, and I know this is a bit short notice, but there's also a late application deadline. I work with the East Hampton Film Festival, and they do narrative shorts under 75 minutes and documentaries of any length. And the submission deadline is quickly approaching. It is the 1st of January, but there's also a mid-February 12th deadline. It's just a little bit more expensive to do a late application. But if you have something that's already made and qualifies, go to easthamptonfilmfestival.com. You can click on Submit Your Film. Please submit it to us. I'd love to see it. We're going to have a process of deciding which ones will get played. Last year, we did a whole block of just women who made horror movies, which is specifically what I do. And I love being involved with the festival. It's really great. And I would love to support anyone who's listening to this who is, like me, an aspiring filmmaker, and listen to us talk about films, because when they're not listening to talking about films, they're making films.
Do you think there will ever be a horror movie for men?
Oh no!
Normally, I would consider that a hack joke, but I think for this episode, it works.
No, it hits well.
It's just a future where there's a woman president, and then some guys like, no.
There are subgenre categories of like comedy and drama, and then like depending on what we get submitted, we kind of block them together to make different themed nights, and they're all played in locations in Western Massachusetts, in the town of East Hampton, so you can have your film get on the screen and get in front of people. Yeah, really great turnout last year. Every year it gets exponentially bigger, and last year it got to the point where I was like, oh God, this is maybe too many people. I don't like big crowds. So if it gets double again, I'll just have a little anxiety attack and be really happy for everybody, but also be like, I don't like being in a room with people in the number of hundreds.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I like that the British version is Harry Styles, and the American version is literally Dirty Harry. You know?
There it is, folks. Roll the streets. We're done here.
If we didn't have to do final thoughts, I would have just mic
you
dropped.
would have hit the button.
Boom, boom.
Should have waited.
But I should have waited. But I have no impulse control.
Your
Katie,
words.
Let's hear some. Let's hear some final thoughts.
Oh man, if you've listened to this and you haven't seen this film, I genuinely suggest that you do. If you manage to both listen to this, not see this film, and not know the controversy, just go watch the movie. It's on HBO Max. You're in a perfect position. If you think that it's gonna suck because this is such a what if I don't like it movie. If you think that it's going to suck because you've predisposed yourself to deciding, this is the perfect example of a film that's going to surprise you if you just let go and expect it to be more of a dystopian film. I would almost be curious to see a sequel to it. Having just talked about Back to the Future 2, which kind of takes aspects of Back to the Future 1 and like clears up questions that people were like, what about this? And what about that? Like, okay, so there's space here for us to kind of address that. And I like this enough to see some more of it. But I also feel like Blade Runner, the ending doesn't feel ambiguous to me. The little unicorn kind of situation. But anyway, it's worth your time. I gave it 4 stars. At the very least, I feel like this should fall at like a 3 for most people who don't want to judge it by the stuff that isn't in the movie.
Yeah. Although, it's not going to surprise you that much because we just spoiled the fuck out of it. So if you haven't, we just kind of spoiled the movie. But
yeah. But I also feel like this may be the only podcast that actually discussed the meat of the matter of the movie that I've heard, and I listen to more movie podcasts.
And boy, was there some meat in this movie.
I feel like it's pretty obvious what's happening right from the get-go. It's like Perfect Blue. This is not a reality that's a reality, and you know that the whole time. It's kind of the nuance of navigating through that, and if you don't enjoy that, then I don't watch that.
I guess there is something funny about like seeing the trailer, expecting a mystery, and then there isn't a mystery, and then you're mad at the movie for there not being a mystery, and it's like, damn man, you can't please everybody. I guess is the takeaway. But Kristina, you love this movie. Let's hear some final thoughts about it.
Yes, I did love this movie. I was so looking forward to it because I'm a huge fan of Olivia Wilde and Florence Pugh, Harry Styles, whatever. But I did not let
they're
the
gonna
drama...
come for your ass now that you said that.
I didn't come.
The hairy heads.
Seriously. I didn't come into this film like making the drama skew my opinion. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna separate this because the drama was getting too out of hand and too ridiculous. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this movie's actually pretty good. There's some, serious messaging about incel culture and like, the influence that Jordan Peterson has like on like white dudes who live in their mom's basement and eat, cat food, I'm assuming, all day. The set designs, Katie, are amazing. The soundtrack hits nail on the head. The acting, Florence Pugh, is no words.
She does Florence Pugh face. She does the other face she makes. She does.
Yeah.
Come on.
But I really do tell people to watch this film, give it another chance. To me, it's going to be like Babylon. I'm one of those people who thinks Babylon is going to be looked back like more fondly than it originally did. But I feel like in years to come, Don't Worry, Darling is going to be, not you, Forrest. But Don't Worry, Darling, people are going to look back on like, oh, we were too harsh on this film for reasons that had nothing to do with the actual plot.
For reasons that none of us remember.
Yeah.
I think there was a Canadian involved somewhere in there that was angry about it and cried. I don't know. Something.
Thanks, Stevie. Congrats another year for the world's most underrated podcast. Thank you very much.
I don't know if that's a title that I don't know if that's a title that I'm happy to hold, but
it's like world's fastest blowjobs.
they call him Speedy. You'll never guess why.
See, quick on the draw.
It's good, I guess.
I've been watching a lot of Rat-a-tat 1940 stuff, so that's
They call her Rat-a-tat. You'll never guess why. But Conan, you got some final thoughts of the year. Final thoughts of the year. There, that's what
Sure. Yeah, I think this is a good movie, and it's a shame that more people didn't know that or could see that when it came out. I think the sense of unease and dread that's built in the first third of this movie is pretty engrossing, as is the built world. Katie did an amazing job in production design. She always does. The serene and perfect, little too colorful 1950s Palm Springs locales. Great. It's a dystopia film, not a psychological thriller. I also think that Olivia Wilde did an incredible job directing this, and it's obnoxious that the frame was built around her work and vision that had nothing to do with the results. We mentioned that the usage of classic period music juxtaposed with like these intense, suspenseful like sounds just adds to that what is going on sort of tension. It's a shame that the drama surrounding the movie overshadowed the film, and I think it's good. And I think a lot of people that are otherwise well-meaning film lovers came in with preconceived negative notions. And I think it's lucky that the art stands alone and on its own, and it's absent of the drama, has aged just fine. And this is my third time through seeing it. Movie works for me a lot. I'd urge people to give it a chance. And I really can't wait to see what Olivia Wilde does next, and especially with Katie working with her, because that's a great duo.
I just think it was really mean of Olivia Wilde to make Jordan Peterson cry. He's a 62-year-old man. He's gonna die soon anyway, you know?
God willing.
But we'll be back.
Well, KT, right? She's got to do final thoughts.
No, she did final thoughts.
I did mine
first.
Okay.
Did you do first? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't skip anyone. Jeez, you made my heart skip a beat right there. I was gonna say we'll be back next week for Yasferatu on our first.
Yeah. I can't wait.